Let's go! Oh my god! Let's go! Welcome to Chillin' episode 4. We do this, we are grinding every single Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Woo! E-doggies! We have an awesome crowd today. But before that, I just want to say something that is a little motivational bit of wisdom before we get into this. And a very wise man once told me that you can't look back. You just have to put the past behind you and find something better in your future. And that's what we're going to do. Every single day that something bad happens, we're going to put that in the past and we're going to keep looking forward. We are going to put our heads forward and we are going to keep on moving. What's up, PP? What's up, agents? Hey, Wizard. Hey, Daniela. Hey, Wilson. Good to have everybody up here. What's going on?
What's up, Moose? I know, it doesn't matter how tired I am. When I hear your voice, I just get hyped, dude. So good to hear your voice, bro.
Let's go. This is what it's about, baby. I cannot wait for this one.
So today we have Wizard of SoHo on the show, and I cannot wait to hear his thoughts on everything that's going on this week. Kind of a crapshoot, but agents, what was your weekend like, bro?
Bro, forget about my weekend. I want to redo my contract here. How the hell am I supposed to follow up Joey Moose? That hype train. All right. But you know what my weekend was? My weekend was, God, I hope I don't have to follow up Joey Moose on Monday. And here we are. But all things considering, it was good. Listen, like you guys, I probably spent the majority of the weekend sitting in Twitter spaces. But it was good. How about you guys, Child?
It was good, man. The most exciting part of my weekend just happened in the last 2 hours because I flew down to Miami and Wilson and I just grabbed a steak dinner. So we're actually chilling here in my hotel room. I'm on a business trip and we're doing the space together. So everything is good. The weather is so warm and it's incredible.
That's historic. 4 episodes in and we already have a live simulcast. All right. If that doesn't set some sort of bar, I don't know what will.
Well, agents, I just got to come in and say, I know what you're best at doing in here, and something that you can one-up me on. I know you like to talk about that little blue thing in the corner, the bottom right.
You're right. I do love to talk about this. I usually like talking about it when it's purple, and we can segue it in with a giveaway. But I'll tell you guys, if you want to show some support to us, ask not what Chillin' Podcast can do for you, but what you can do for Chillin' Podcast. Hit that bottom right little plus sign, tweet about the space. We'll get some people in here. We're going to go into our alpha with Mint Media. And then, yes, PP already said we have our special guest, Wizard of SoHo, who's up here on stage with us. But first, let's hear from the Mint Media crew.
What's going on, guys?
How is everyone doing? PP, intro music.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the song.
Yeah.
Every time I hear that, I think Mint Media. Go for it, guys.
It's really starting to grow on me. I absolutely love it. What's going on, everyone? Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can.
Cool. Well, I'm Wilson from Mint Media. We deliver educational content about NFTs on a weekly basis. So, there's a lot that went on this week. My heart goes out to everyone that's been affected by the FTX contagion, which is clearly the elephant in the room right now. And, it's spread through all crypto. NFTs are not immune to this. And we're definitely starting to see what I like to think is some sort of capitulation. We saw the highest day ever of WETH bids accepted earlier this week. And this has actually been staying elevated as well, which obviously shows that people are panic selling in real time. They're looking for quick liquidity. And we're seeing some of the bear market lows for Bored Ape Yacht Club, Moonbirds, Doodles, Mutant Apes. Even Moonbirds and Mutant Apes, for example, are seeing their lowest USDC prices since midday. And despite all of the panic selling, what's also kind of keeping us a bit down in the dumps is that the volume was still the lowest. one of the 3 lowest weeks of all of the bear market. So, it's tough because we're seeing a lot of panic selling, but volume's really low, which gets the undercutters involved, which kind of leads to those weak bids. So this it's been a really tough week for a lot of people here. I'll let Chuck take it from here because he's got some great insights on this as well.
Yeah, thanks, Wilson. So I think despite all the things that Wilson touched on, I think it does represent a great opportunity if you've been careful with how you kind of manage your portfolio of NFTs, crypto, et cetera. And I think examining the trend of wheat bids being accepted, obviously liquidity is being sought after by just about everybody. But with that, I think people tend to overlook how powerful or how effective rather wheat bidding, on the buy side can be. And I think it's really, if you're looking to load up your shopping cart for Christmas, get your girlfriend that little Pudgy she's always wanted, it's a great time to convert some ETH to WETH and start setting some bids. So I just had a couple of tactics that kind of worked for me in the past that I can impart on you all, and then I'll kind of open it up to the group here. So I think the first thing that I really look for in a time where WETH bids are being accepted pretty rapidly is, I really try to monitor the floor activity, and I look at, the bottom 10 or 20 wallets, and I try to ask myself a few questions. Firstly, is it one wallet that's constantly undercutting, or is it, a bunch of wallets? And then kind of taking it from there, is it, if it's one wallet, are they only selling a handful, or are they really just trying to dump everything and dump the floor? And if that's the case, I think, not just setting a collection bid, but specifically bidding on those NFTs that the person's clearly trying to offload, I think you can find a pretty nice, 20 to 25% discount, depending on where the WETH floor is, because that person's obviously looking to get out pretty quickly. And then I think, on top of just trying to get into a collection from a floor perspective, I think, Pudgy Penguins definitely comes to mind because I think there definitely been some people undercutting, but also, across the spectrum of NFTs, looking at specific traits in particular is definitely, if there's that one NFT that had maybe had the ice skin, not that I think anyone's, puking any ice skins, but, if I think, the rarer NFTs can, they obviously fetch above floor price, but I think, think of the psychology of somebody who holds an NFT, right? They see the floor price is tanking. They are having second guesses about, holding or selling, but they have a rare NFT and they're not quite sure where to price it at. And I think if you set a WETH bid at something, a little bit above floor, then they may say to themselves, well, look, I have something better, better than the floor price. It's better than nothing. I might as well take it. And I'm actually very surprised at the amount of times that I've been successful in bidding above floor on some rare NFTs. And I think just the one other thing I would say about that before I open up to the group is I would just say definitely worth monitoring the activity of the NFT itself when you're looking at rare tokens. I think you're going to have a lot more luck in landing a bid for a token that has been trading a lot of hands versus somebody who minted and hasn't sold in almost a year, because in all likelihood, they're probably still not going to sell. So those are just a couple of things that I've been employing just over the last week or so and trying to scoop up some stuff on the cheap. If you have the opportunity to do so, definitely look into that a little bit more.
It sounds like what you're saying is, you got to do a lot of your own research in the bear and really nail down what makes the most sense from project to project and trade to trait even. And especially even with like a collection like Penguins, like you said, people buy off aesthetics, not even off traits sometimes. So just if an NFT looks good or clean or whatever, that might be a deal in a market like this. So thanks, Chuck. Appreciate the insights.
Yeah, Chuck, Wilson, I wanted to ask, I was kind of determined not to talk about the SBF FTX nonsense, but it bears asking, have we seen any NFT projects wiped out because they were holding their treasuries on FTX. Are NFT projects, by and large, insulated from this kind of stuff? I saw a couple founders come out and say where their funds are just to kind of assuage some concerns. Has anyone really been taken out by this?
So yeah, I could jump in. I think that right now I haven't seen anything too notable. There's a lot of whispers through the grapevine of what's going on. And we haven't heard about a lot of this stuff yet. I think first of all, I would not be surprised if this was the case, and I'm sure this will come out eventually. But maybe the few projects I'm thinking of right now, I don't want to put on the spot if I'm not 100% sure. But there's a lot of rumors floating around about a lot of projects, and I'm sure a lot of this stuff will come out, which is very unfortunate. I also think, kind of going back to the WETH bid thing, you also have to think about projects getting taken out by maybe certain projects have a large percent of holders in general that have their money in FTX, and these people need instant liquidity and are going to bail, and everyone's going to kind of tank the floor on a project. And we all know this about NFTs. It's a very reflexive cycle. You see a bunch of people buying, it makes the art look better. You see a bunch of people selling. Bored Apes don't look as good now at under 50 ETH, and they did it 150 ETH. So it's really tough. I think there's going to be a lot of bad news that does come out in the upcoming weeks, but for now, I don't really want to kind of spread the rumor mill, but my heart does go out to holders of all these projects and all people affected. I mean, this is just a terrible thing all around, and I don't think anyone's happy about this. Like, I know a lot of people here want to dunk on other blue chips that are going down in price, but a lot of these projects tanking aren't necessarily good short term, at least for a lot of like the Penguins floor prices as well. It's kind of, we're all in the same ship together, so. Wishing the best for everyone. It's been a tough week.
Isn't it funny how quick that shift from, bro, I'll buy when the price goes down turns into, F that, I'll buy when the price starts going up.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things we've seen this week with like quick capitulation is like people are being like buying Sol and buying Utes. Like Utes went from $400 to $1,200. I think they went from $1,000 to $400 to $1,200 in like a 3-hour period. Like there's so much opportunity out there right now if you want to put your balls on the table and go for it. But obviously there's a lot of tough times ahead.
Cards on the table.
Yeah, no balls are going on the table.
Yeah,
cards on the table.
Put your cards on the table.
Yeah. I don't know what table you've been at, Wilson, but thank you. Thank you, Chuck and Wilson.
Pretty low table.
It's a really low table. Before we get to Wiz, we forgot to get to Daniela. Daniela, I heard you have a crazy story that happened to you this weekend.
Hey.
Hey.
It's not so crazy. It definitely has like a very related ending. But so as some people might know, I was definitely one of the people affected by what happened with FTX. I had everything on FTX aside from my NFTs and my 401k. So it was a pretty emotional week for me. And I canceled a date that I had on Wednesday because I was just a mess. And I had rescheduled it for Saturday. And was like really cool person, really attractive, super smart. And like, I was thinking this would just be a wonderful distraction, but my chest was so tight and I couldn't get my head out of everything that was going on. And like a little into it, I just started crying and I was like, I have to go. Cause I don't think I could be around people right now. Like I'm certainly not in any position to be dating. And when I got home, like he was so sweet and understanding, and he like messaged me and asked me what my wallet was, and he ended up sending me his one and only little Pudgy, and he knew I was obviously a huge Pudgy Penguin fan, and like when we first started talking, like he even sent me evidence that he had a little Pudgy, which I thought was adorable. But he was like, "You need this more than me right now," and it was one of the little ones holding a good morning sign. And it was just so sweet and so moving.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I actually sent my wife evidence of a little Pudgy, but that was before Pudgy Penguins even existed. Daniel, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it really was.
You have to tell him
That's
to
pretty
change his
amazing.
profile picture, though.
He can't. I know.
Yeah.
Not your penguin anymore. Yeah.
Speaking of nice penguin holders, Wiz, what's up, man?
Woohoo!
What's up, boys? What's going on? That was a pretty great story, by the way.
This is the best story, and we totally cut it out, Daniela. I'm so super sorry.
That was adorable. Good to know.
What?
You hold Pudgies, you can get dates. That's rare for Web3 people. So
Well, to reference like what Chuck was saying earlier about, buying them for Christmas presents and stuff. I mean, I certainly, this was like a very specific situation, but I was very moved by that gesture. So I encourage you fellas to get your partners Pudgy penguins too.
Wiz, for
My
the people
girlfriend couldn't be less interested in receiving a Pudgy penguin, but I've tried. She likes to think that she's the responsible one in the relationship. So,
Does she have a
She's
real
not
job
the
or
one.
something?
Wiz, before we get started with the interview, I just want to give you a thank you because our giveaway, and if you haven't entered yet, enter now. Our giveaway is brought to you by you and Evinco Winery DAO. So thank you, sir. Throw some hundreds up in the audience for Wizard of SoHo.
Let's get some hundreds up for Wizard of SoHo, and let's hear the backstory. What is this exactly?
Winery DAO?
Yes.
Yeah, it's basically a project that most people who have been kind of following my account, whether on Instagram or Twitter, know how big I've been into wine for like over the last decade. Just something, just like a passion on the side, and me and my partner, who's he's a winemaker, like he's got like 100+ years of winemaking experience in Napa, like literally. I mean, his dad, his grandpa, everyone, right? So we both partnered up together and started. We did like a proof of concept, like in 2020, and that wine kind of sold out. It's in a couple of restaurants in California, and then we were like, listen, how can we like disrupt the wine and spirit space? And we kind of came up with this concept of Winery DAO, like where the people are no longer the consumer, but they're like feed life owners and collectors. Kind of changed the paradigm a little bit in the wine and spirit space. So we kind of launched it, and it's going really well. It's kind of a niche product and space, and there's a lot of education. But what's been amazing is it's a very strong community. Uh, we literally, all the wine has been, so if you mint it, it's like a point free eat mint. You get 2 bottles of our high quality wine for free as a physical airdrop. So you have to stake your NFT for 2 weeks, and then you get a claim for 2 bottles. So over the last 2 weeks, all our bottles are being shipped out. You can see on my page, or even if you go to the Winery DAO, tons of people have been posting it on their Twitters. But yeah, it's one of the few NFTs in the world where you get to drink it and enjoy it with family, and you can bring it to like your holiday, like Thanksgiving dinner, and show your parents that it's not just pictures of animals on the internet, but there's actually wine that we're drinking that came from like NFT utility. So we have a tasting room in Napa, a vineyard that's been used by our community. I think over 200 people have come now, all gated by the NFT. Yeah, we're gonna have a wine bar that's gonna be built out by the DAO in New York City, I believe. We're still working that out, but it's on our roadmap. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's still minting, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, there's just so much utilities. It's pretty crazy. But whoever comes and checks out the utility in Napa just falls in love. Plus, you can be anywhere in the world and get the wine, so it's pretty phenomenal.
And I've seen some wine bottles with a one Luca Netz's penguin on it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that's going to be a future utility that we're putting out, which is pretty cool. So every Evinco NFT holder will be able to put any NFT that they want on their bottle. So they'll have a custom bottle. So Luca obviously got his golden Pudgy on his bottles, which was just in a trial phase for that. So we had like a couple of people like Franklin got like one of his golden apes on his. Farouk got his like CryptoPunk. So we just got a couple of people to just test it out. But yeah, but like so we're gonna have like we'll most likely do like free packs in like once these shipments go out, like the free ones, and then we're gonna do like free packs. So I think like maybe like we haven't fixed the cost yet, but like assume like around 0.1 ETH or something, or 0.15 ETH, you get free bottles. You get to put your NFT. So say you want to put your Pudgy on it, and we'll ship it out to you. So if you want to collect, and these are like all vintage bottles, right? So they're like 2015, 2015, 2016. So these can age. They're like Cabernet Sauvignon mostly. So they can age like 30, 40 years. So imagine like putting your Pudgy on your bottle and putting it in the cellar, and we can store it for you too. But put it in your cellar, and like 10 years from now, you open it and you're drinking this beautiful wine, and you can talk about your Pudgy around your whoever you're drinking with, make new memories. But yeah, being able to put your NFTs on individual bottles as you want on 3 packs and 6 packs, I think that's going to be really huge, and that's going to be our next utility. So the longer you stake your NFTs, the more utilities keep unlocking, and this is going to be one of the big unlocks in the next few months. So we're pretty excited about it.
They're almost soul bound in that way that you kind of put them on your bottle of wine. Like you're never going to get rid of that. Like it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I think it's the only like most of the like physical stuff that we've gotten in the NFT space has just been merch, right? Like mostly like we've really like toys, obviously Pudgy's is kind of like pushing the boundary in that, but other than that it's just been kind of like merch, and it's not even custom merch. It's just like the general logo, and then that's kind of it. And I don't feel like that's not really breakthrough or pushing the boundary at all, right? So I think like maybe like Link's DAO. Like I don't know if you guys know, it's like that golf one. That's kind of cool, but that's also going to take a while. Or Flyfish that Gary Vee's doing. That's also going to be a while. But we already have the vineyards ready, so we built everything first. So the vineyards are ready, the tasting lounges, everything's ready. The bottles are all bottled, and already like everybody's already getting their physical airdrop. So I think it's something different. I think it's cool because you can drink the wine right away. You don't have to wait that long. So like you mint tonight, you can get it in like two. So you have to stake it for 2 weeks, then you get the airdrop. So assume like 3-4 weeks from now you'll have your bottles. So that's kind of cool, something different.
Yeah, I
How
love
much is
that.
it to mint?
It's 0.3 ETH, and so that includes the 2 bottles, which is it retails around like $350 to $400 total, which is like a now given price of ETH that's worth more than the entire mint. And then you also get access to free tastings at the lounge in Napa. And if you get the gold pass, then it's the same price. It just tells you the rarity based on like randomly in 2 weeks. But if you get the gold pass, you'll get access to the champagne allocation, which is going to be like this amazing sparkling wine we're making out of California. And then we're going to also have, like there's so many utilities. You can check the website, but it's literally like a roadmap of utilities being built out. And already there's tons. Like there's so many people in the community who have come to the tasting lounge with family members and just drank wine and relaxed and chilled. It's been pretty unreal.
I love.
Sorry, PP. I keep,
Go ahead.
the inner alcoholic in me is really loving this idea. So I'm a huge fan. I'm literally going to go mint it right now. So
Thank you, man.
thanks
Yeah,
for
the link's in my
showing the
bio,
intros.
so you can check it out. But yeah, there's tons. I mean, the other cool thing is because it's one of the few things that's kind of like involved. Most like NFT stuff is just men, right? Or like young people like us, like whatever, like PFPs or gaming and stuff. This is one of the few that has gotten like a lot of like love from like women and older people who are not even in NFTs, which has been really cool to kind of like break the space. So what's been unreal is we've gotten like a ton of press, like all like good organic press. Like we didn't pay for anything. Like our Forbes like covered us like 2 times, and then we have a bunch of articles coming out in like Vogue, Vanity Fair, stuff like that. Because it's one of the few things that like a lot of women are able to like find like attraction to, because they're like, oh, wine community, can go drink in Napa and like stuff like that. Or if you're in like New York, or we're gonna have some collabs in London soon at wine bars. But yeah, it's something different and kind of fun, and you actually get doesn't matter what's happening in the market. Worst case, you still have bottles of wine in your hand, and you can drink it and make some good memories.
Actually, speaking of women loving the wine, I've tried it before. I was at your NFT NYC wine tasting and met you
Oh,
there. So I can personally speak to how delicious the wine is. And I
there you
haven't,
go.
and I minted on day one, and I've been staking ever since. And I actually didn't like order my bottles yet, but I am hosting a Pengu Princesses event during Art Basel, and it would be incredible if we could get some bottles with some labels. Is the label thing still is that ready to go? Because I'd love to order my bottles and like make it a thing for
Yeah,
our
so
event.
the label thing is not ready yet for the utility. The only thing you can do is you can get your free bottles that you minted, so you definitely can claim your airdrop. So just go into the portal and obviously claim it, put your address in, so we can ship it out to you. But we are, I don't know if I must have mentioned this before, but we are actually going to be sponsoring the Pudgy event at Art Basel. So we're going to be having special Pudgy bottles. I think we're going to have Luca's. Golden Pudgies on them. So I'll be there at the Art Basel Pudgy event with Evinco Winery. And I guess I don't know, PP, I don't even know if you knew this before I came up here. But yeah, we're going to be sponsoring the wine for the Pudgy event. And I'll be there serving myself. So it'll be
You're leaking
exciting.
alpha. You're leaking
I was
alpha.
just gonna say, sound the air horns. That's an alpha drop right there.
Let's go. Wow, that's
Evico Wine
amazing.
Down and Pudgy Penguins, the collab.
My friend, I have a quick question for you. Not to get any.
Yeah, of course.
Not to get involved. Would you have any kosher wine as well? Because I know there's some Jewish people, that keep the
Yeah.
kosher.
So we do have access to some bottling. So if somebody wants to put in a request, we can definitely make something happen. But our general wine in general is not kosher, but we do have access to some partnerships that we can make it happen.
Awesome! Wow, can't wait to try it as well.
So, Wiz, sorry, PP, but this has been on my mind. I sold a winery once in northern New Jersey, and I was going through their numbers, and a big part of their business was these limited runs where they would get people in, and it's like bottle your own wine, local businesses, that kind of stuff. So it seems like the demand was already there for wine connoisseurs or enthusiasts who want to own a piece of what they're drinking. Do you think that played a part in this having like a wider appeal outside the NFT space? Like people got it easier?
Yeah, I think it's funny when we hosted. So it was so we obviously have a full community run DAO, right? So 50% of all, close to 50% of all mint money goes to the community treasury wallet. So it's controlled by obviously like a regular DAO. Like you have to go put proposals, vote, everything. And one of the proposals that was put up was to have a media event that was fully sponsored by the DAO, right? And it was mostly like Web2 people. So like it was all like like the magazines I mentioned, right? Like Marie Claire, Vanity Fair, I mean, you name it. Like all those, like Vogue, like all those, like New York Mag, stuff like that. And most of them, I think one or two of them had kind of good sense of NFTs, but most of them kind of didn't. And the fact that it was wine as the interface made it so much easier for them to kind of get it on like how. So they got, because they were like, okay, there are these pictures that people are like, it's worth $500,000, like monkey pictures, and that doesn't make any sense, right? But this concept was so easy for them to get, and that's why they loved writing about it, because like they're like, we don't want to write about something that just makes no physical sense. Like, is this this is obviously a bubble or what? Like, whether it's or not, that's not up for that's not what I'm trying to debate. But that's the first sense, right? If you tell some random person, like, oh, this digital picture of a monkey is worth $500,000, you're gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about, right? But this was very easy. Like once I explained what DAO means, how a community can actually control the progress of a winery or a wine company, that's never happened before. People have a say on, not only people have a say, their membership and is worth something, rather than think being in a country club or something, right? Or Soho House, for example. When you leave, there's nothing, right? You just leave, and then they're like, oh, thank you for spending all this money, but see you later. You can't sell your line on the spot. So that's the same thing with wineries. A lot of rare wines have a lot of demand, and once you leave that spot on the like this bottle, like for example, Sine Qua Non is a very famous California-based wine. Each bottle goes for like 5 to 10x if you can get on the list. So think about being on a whitelist and basically minting it and selling it, right? It's an instant 5x. And you get this every 3 months, right? And people do this, like it's Screaming Eagle, it's an instant 10x. And you can't sell your whitelist. But here, essentially, your pass or your membership, you're able to get some value if you don't like it. Ideally, people like it, but just giving people that feeling that they're no longer a consumer but they're a collector or they're I feel like an owner, right? That's the big difference in decentralization and democratization, right? It's taking away the power that a few people control and giving that back to the people. Because think about like Kickstarter. When you did Kickstarter, you were just a consumer. You paid for the product, and that was kind of it. You got no upside other than that. But that's kind of what we wanted to change in the wine world. We're like, we want to give people the upside, but it was so easy to kind of explain to like normies or like Web2 people, because they were like, okay, so wine, okay, so I can like sell this thing, and if I don't like it, I can like give it to somebody else. It's limited amount. I can buy bottles of wine. It's exclusive. There's a tasting lounge. There's gonna be wine bars. You're gonna get discounts and stuff. I mean, okay, like that's so much easier to kind of explain than trying to explain why a picture of an ape is worth 500,000, right? You know what I mean? So not to say that it should be or not. You know, I don't want to get any apes angry at me, but my point is, you know, to explain to Web2 people, it was so much easier than any of my other projects, right? So it kind of made sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Web 2. It didn't appeal to people until there was a use case for the individual.
Exactly.
Where it made sense.
You bring up a good point too, where it's like you introduce people to NFTs. Like, I've seen a lot of people call these kind of projects like phygital, but I think a better term for it is like a gateway NFT. And I think you're doing it really well with Winery DAO. There's a fellow penguin down in the audience. I see you, Tech Mobo. He did 0x Coffee. I helped him out with that. But it's basically the same thing. Like you have a product, a physical product that you're ready to ship. And once these people mint NFTs, they can go ahead and claim the good right away. And like to be able to introduce NFTs, introduce people to NFTs in this way, other than like I'm selling you a picture or like a IP license, it's much easier to get if there's a tangible product. So super stoked for Evinco Winery DAO. I minted some time ago, and I need to stake it. I haven't staked it yet, so I'll get on that.
Yeah, stake it. So the way you get the physical airdrop is you stake it for 2 weeks, but then you get this tons of other perks, right? So in 2 weeks, it'll also show your rarity. So if you've got the gold pass or the silver pass, so obviously gold pass will get you the champagne allocation down the line as well. But yeah, lots of fun stuff.
Is there any way to get the gold one just by talking to you? Can I get the gold one, please?
I'm just kidding. I'll stake it and see what I get.
Well, I just staked it and it was super easy, so I'm excited to wait 2 weeks to figure it out. That's a lot of suspense for crypto. I'm curious, like, how did you settle on the 2 week time frame? That's like 2 years in this space, you know?
Yeah. So when we were launching, we needed a little bit of bandwidth to be able to, send the shipments over. But what ended up happening was it got so hot in the summer that we couldn't send the shipments anyway. So we had to wait till the fall, because obviously this is like very high end wine. So we didn't want to like destroy it, even though it's free for people. We just still want to make sure they get the perfect like temperature and stuff. But yeah, we're just breaking apart like most staking contracts you get like coins and stuff, right? Our staking contract you get perks and utility unlocks as time passes by. So it's kind of like it's like an aging contract, we call it. So when wine ages more, it gets better and more like bouquets and flavors can unlock. In the same way, our aging contract will unlock more perks and fun stuff as time passes. So that's kind of the idea.
That's so cool.
Now, was that planned or was that a happy little coincidence that wine ages in the staking contract?
Yeah, no. So we wanted to do something. So our whole thing was, there's a lot of stuff that's like they're like, oh, this is the Web3 version of it, and it's like, oh, do we really need a Web3 version of this? It doesn't kind of make sense, right? But we were like, okay, we don't really want to have a Web3 version of a winery unless we're able to disrupt it in a proper way. And then we thought like the gamification and community building would be like the way we'd kind of disrupt. So the gamification came from the staking contract, because we're like, okay, this is a really cool gamification system where you just have these surprise unlocks with like random stuff. So we have a unlock where if you stake it a certain time, you get free tastings at the lounge. If you stake it longer, you get a vineyard experience. So you can come to the vineyard, hang out. Literally, it's like one of the most beautiful vineyards you'll see. Yeah, it's like you just literally sit out in the vineyard on these couches, drink wine with our winemaker, like all these like fun things. And then obviously one of our partners is Keyboard Monkey, right? Like he's a partner of mine, and obviously another very famous Pudgy. So same thing. Like being able to we're gonna have a fun little thing where get to do a dinner with me and keyboard maybe at some event somewhere. So there's all kinds of fun things we've put in there over time, raffles that will unlock for wine bottles, rare wine, raffles for NFTs, stuff like that. But the keyboard most likely might be coming to the Pudgy event too. Sorry, you will be coming to the Pudgy event to bartend with me too, so that'll be fun.
He's not going to be spinning the tables?
No, I don't think so. Unless
Alright,
Luca
well,
hired him for that, I don't know.
I look forward to chirping him publicly about rebuying that penguin 3 times.
That's goes in instantly into Pudgy lore, though. By the way, that's the rebuying of that Pudgy. It's just,
yeah, Keyboard's got a lot of Pudgy lore. I mean, he's OG Pudgy fan.
Oh,
but
yeah,
that was
man.
pretty incredible.
Really was. Speaking of incredible, you've had some incredible calls, I think, these past few weeks, few months. I think you called the exact bottom on traditional finance markets, but where the hell would we be BTC and ETH wise if it wasn't for FTX's sex cult Ponzi scheme they're running?
Oh man, this is depressing. God. I think it's very fair to say it would be at least, I would think, 2,100 to 2,200. Yeah, BTC definitely would break 25K for sure. But yeah, it was the real bottom on ETH was, and this is when I went giga long. So there was a couple weeks ago, there was an article in Wall Street Journal that published that usually, so the Fed always over history has been leaking stuff to the Wall Street Journal through this one author over there, and that's what they kind of did. So ETH was around 1260. It was I think it was 5:36 in the morning. It was a Friday, and ETH was 12. I think ETH was 1275, and it looked like it was about to crater. It got to 1261. It got to 1253, I think, and it looked like it was going to go 1200 and below. And then the article came out, and then it just spiked, and I got in at 1261 when I read the article. Essentially, it was the Fed kind of saying we're going to slow down the pace of hikes, and I was like, this is it. This is kind of the first of 10 steps. As long as data cooperates, obviously, and we don't get a black swan event. So literally, I went long, bonds, gold, silver, and then obviously a ton of crypto, and it was great. It was a phenomenal trade because we got to 1650, 1677, and it literally was the chart was beautiful. The candle, I remember the 4-hour candle we had when we got from 1350 to 1450 on ETH was the highest volume 4-hour candle we had seen all year. It was incredible. I mean, just everything made sense. So it was full takeoff mode. And then obviously with CPI that came in 2 days ago, NASDAQ and traditional markets have moved over 10% in 2 to 3 days, and that was it's the biggest 2-day move since 2008. So we're talking 10 plus years, almost 15 years, the biggest 2-day move you've seen in the traditional markets. So, I mean, and given the fact that, crypto is, a little bit lower liquidity and a little bit higher risk, you would expect easily, we would have had on that day when CPI came out and stocks moved 7%, I think we'd have seen ETH go from 1,700 on that day to we would have broken 2,000 within the first 2-3 hours and stayed above. But yeah, but but that's the only reason we haven't died yet, right? So I guess there's some solace in that. I mean, I think it would have been at least at 1,100 or below by now if it wasn't for macro kind of helping it out.
Yeah, totally agree. But I also regret asking you that question because it just made me even more sad, honestly.
Yeah,
never forget what they took away from you.
Yeah, depressing, but it is what it is. But it's all good. I always if you look at all the past, not even that far back, right? Look at Free AC. Free AC was a $18 billion fund, levered up that fully capitulated, right? Everything. I think the only thing that hasn't been sold, or maybe it's still being sold, is the NFTs. But everything else they fully capitulated, and it was coupled with a very bad macro environment. Like Fed was like super hawkish. Every CPI was coming out really, really bad. Stocks were hitting like their absolute lows. Like I think it was like 3,600 on S&P. To give you an idea, it's like almost it crossed 4,000 today and then pulled back a little bit. But we're talking like the worst of the worst situation, and that took us to $800 on ETH. And I don't even think it closed a day below there, but we kind of, and then we had the CPI number come out like 3 days later, and we spiked from I think it was like, so it was 1,080 the CPI morning. I remember I was in like Florence and spending my summer in Europe at the time. I was having lunch and the CPI came out, and we went from 1,080 to like 1,020, and then we spiked to like 1,300, and then we spent the next 3 weeks or a month rallying, and we touched 2,000 then. And I think we kind of saw like a very similar kind of situation where got to like 1080 again or 1053 something, and we spiked to like 1350, and now we're just kind of consolidating. But I think what I think that's kind of possibly what's going to happen. I mean, I think the sentiment is so much worse now, but VAC was pretty bad too. But right now there's a lot of liquidity that's gone on the market because Alameda was obviously a huge liquidity maker. So market depth is not there as much. Like if somebody wants to sell like like 100 Bitcoin, like it'll move the price like probably like a lot more than we used to. Like I remember you could sell like 100 ETH market sale a couple of weeks ago, and you'd move the price like maybe like 20 cents, 30 cents, maybe 40 cents like late at night. But now it moves like a couple dollars to $5. So but all of that will come back. Listen, I've been through Lehman Brothers. I've been through like all these, like the Euro crisis, Greek crisis, when Greek was going bankrupt and Italy was going bankrupt. Been through COVID. I mean, man, I've seen despair and world ending like several times, and we always come back. The key is, what my old boss on Wall Street used to always say. The market is always cyclical. It'll always come back. And sometimes it might take a little bit longer, but the key is to make sure that you don't get stopped out of the market. So as long as you have the capacity to stay in the market or come back in the market, you'll be fine long term. It's just, make sure you don't get stopped out of the market completely.
Yeah, and hey guys, just want to reset the room real quick here. We are joined by Wizard of SoHo, an absolute legend who is giving away one access pass. Do we call them access passes, Wiz? I'm going to call them an access pass.
We just call this Evinco Winery DAO. NFT is probably good enough because my other project is called Alpha Pass, so I don't want to like confuse people.
I got you. We can't obfuscate the brands. One Evinco Winery DAO is being given away by Wiz. All the details are pinned at the top of this space. And I'm not saying it helps your chances, but it definitely can't hurt. Make sure you're following all the speakers on stage, especially Wizard of SoHo. And I will throw it back to you here, PP.
Yeah, everybody gets, so the pass gets you 2 bottles of wine too. So at least let's make sure you're like drinking age in your country or whatever.
Yeah.
Or give it to your parents,
or
I
just
guess.
have a good fake. Hey, Wiz, when you say Alameda was like, a huge market maker, don't you mean the people who deposited money into FTX were a huge market maker?
Well, so we don't. So there's so much speculation on what exactly happened, right? So it's I don't know what happened, but what I think happened is, when Luna and Free AC and all that stuff happened, I think that's when Alameda took like a huge hit, and then all this like BlockFi and Voyager were about to go down, and I think he was about to like get fully like blown out and be exposed. And so he was like, okay, like I think he's then was like, okay, I want to backdoor money out and lever up even more my positions and bail out these other dying projects. And then this way, at least I'll get like a bottom in the market. And then after the bottom in the market, like, I'll be able to like make the money back or something like that. And then he just like, like just laundered his reputation to like, and then used all that money towards that. So, I mean, Alameda, it was like ridiculous. I guess like, listen, I mean, the chance, if you had asked any of even like the top like Kobe, right? Like Kobe probably is like one of the most like known or like probably the biggest crypto influencer out there. He even said like a couple days ago, he's like, if you had to guess which exchange would go down, he would have said like, less than 1% chance of FTX. I mean, even me, everybody, even till the last minute, the best traders thought that it would be. There's no shot that SBF is going to go down. There's no shot that FTX. I mean, me too. I was telling people like, man, you're silly if you think like SBF can't like just sell one or two wallets and pay for the entire thing himself. Like, it was unreal. Like, it was like unfathomable, right? The only people who were calling for his failure were like other scammers, right? Like, so you look at like all the Bit Boys and all of them, like they were the ones calling for his demise because they were just other scammers that he was taken away from to like clout, right? So now they're like thinking they're all like big shots, like, and which is pretty bad for the space overall too, because now these people have a huge platform because they're like, oh, I called it. But it's like the only reason they called it because they were all scammers themselves and were like, it was scammer versus scammer. So it's the market making of Alameda was still like pretty massive, right? I mean, it was predatory, like a lot of it, what they were doing, because they were really like on exchanges like forcing liquidations, because they would see your stop market. Like if you put like a stop market order, so say like you bought like 100 ETH and you put like, okay, if it goes below, you bought 100 ETH, say 1500, and you're like, okay, if it goes to 1475, I'm gonna stop out of my position. So they could see your order, right? So if it's like not that crazy like volume or there's not much happening, they could just push the price down, force your stop out, and then bring the price back up. And they would do. I mean, everybody does this all the time, but they used to do this shit all the time, right? But like that's so it's yeah. So that's the kind of market making they used to do, but they still provided liquidity to the market. So that's kind of gone. I was looking at this chart. I'll try and tweet it out later, but it's like it's down a lot. But again, I think other market players will come in. They're going to see the money to be made as a market maker. You're seeing DeFi DX is seeing a lot more volume. It's like decentralized exchange. I'm sure I haven't seen Coinbase numbers, but I would assume it's up as well. But the second largest exchange in the world went down. Like that's going to go somewhere. They were still making 8 figures a day, like FTX. So somebody's going to come in and take that money. So I'm sure guys like Citadel and stuff are like, yo, we'll start market making and provide order books, which is good. Yeah, they'll make their bid offer and do some predatory shit, but it still brings a lot of liquidity and market depth. So it's net. It's as good as bad. It is what it is.
Do you think it's going to be a little bit Wild West for a while? I've seen a few coins that have just had these like insane 3x's and then completely pull back. And some of it's stuff that, was pretty respectable before. Is this just without market makers? Is this what we can expect for a while?
Yeah, so altcoins, so anything that's like not Bitcoin. I mean, even Ethereum's kind of trading like a shitcoin, but other than Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I don't know what you want to say, maybe Polygon, I guess. But other than that, honestly, most coins are just gonna like trade with like massive market moves, right? Like obviously, like Solana. If any, it's funny enough, Solana liquidity has been increasing over the last few days as the other ones have gone down. Not that it's helping price too much, but I think every other coin is gonna probably trade. Kind of like shit coins. I mean, you're gonna see stuff move up like 10%, down 5%. I mean, look at ETH. Like ETH alone is moving like $50 to $100, like every few hours on like nothing. Like tweets are moving it by like random people, like random FUD on Twitter and like Spaces, that people are just spreading misinformation is like moving the price of ETH and Bitcoin. So you can understand like how like. It never used to be like that. Like it doesn't matter how much, unless you're like maybe CZ or somebody like that. Like it shouldn't move. But like yeah, it's just rumors just start spreading, like crypto.com rumor spreading or Bybit rumor. Those are like just moving prices around. So for me, I'm just kind of not sitting leverage, no margin. I'm just kind of DCing into ETH as it dips. It's fine. It's like a long-term trade. I'm just sticking to the major. So mostly I've just been doing ETH, and I'll just dabble a little bit into like Matic and Link or something, but like mostly just ETH. I've been buying, and then maybe I'll do some trades here and there on some other coins. But honestly, I think it's best to be in like a safe like kind of coin that you really can't FUD like it's very like how do you FUD ETH, right, or Bitcoin, right? Like maybe China comes and says we're going to shut down all Bitcoin miners again for the 50th time, then maybe. But like ETH, what are you gonna say? Like it's all proof of stake now as well, right? So
I
I
don't know.
just
I
feel
saw
safe.
I saw some rumor people saying Vitalik was selling ETH. So
He
I
was. So
wouldn't put it past them.
yeah, but that's fine. It's not like he has, it's like Vitalik selling. He sold like 3.2 million. Like that's, in the grand scheme of things, that's like nothing, right? There's billions in volume done every day, so like a couple of million being sold kind of doesn't mean anything. But he's probably just, trying to set up some funds for himself. Who knows what he's selling for, right? Maybe he's trying to do for some company, maybe some race for something, maybe just, trying to sell himself because he thinks maybe there's a, we're gonna be in the like a crypto bear for the next year or 2 years or something like that. So he's like, all right, let me get some funds aside. But again, there's been like, to give you an idea, there's been like, billions in volume that's been traded in the last 2 days alone across like two exchanges alone. So 3.25 million that Vitalik sold, it's kind of, I think it's more that, it might be like a more emotional selling. He's just like what have I created with crypto and where we are. Like, I think it seems like he might be down a little bit, and he's just like, all right, let me just kind of sell and just take a little break or whatever. But he still has tons. The foundation always sells, right? Like that's literally their job because they need to pay like the ETH Foundation, so it's fine. Again, it's so negligible given the volume that we see overall.
What do you think about the future of centralized exchanges? Like, as for a foreign exchange, like what is even safe outside of Binance? And for US, it doesn't seem like there are a whole lot of options anymore. Do you think we'll get more, or we're just
Yeah,
going full
I mean,
decentralized from here?
so I think the way, if you look at history, right, if you look at like what kind of brought mass adoption for say stocks, it was exchanges, right? That's kind of how it is. That's kind of what's been growing crypto a lot is all the exchanges. Obviously FTX had a part of that because they did all the ads and stuff like that, but Coinbase too has done a great job at that. But unfortunately it has to be on ramp, right? Like easy, quick on ramp. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to see significant amount of regulation, which I think is very bullish. I've always been of the fact that regulation is bullish because it'll give normies like safety to put their money in. So I think centralized exchanges, I'm sure we'll see new ones come up, or what will happen is the ones that exist will get more regulated, which will just make on ramp easier for the layperson because they'll be like, okay, this is like covered like like any other product, and my money is kind of safe-ish, etc., etc. But I think net, we will see more centralized exchanges come up. I think centralized exchanges do need to stay. I just think they need to have significant amount of regulation, and that's completely okay. I think there's going to be a lot of decentralized stuff, but it's not that easy for like a random person off the street to like go on Uniswap and like do all that like on ramp and get there and do all that, right? And if you want to have that big worldwide adoption, you need to have a very quick like free steps like bank account to your wallet, and then wallet you buy it, and like that's it. And then from there people can learn, and then put it into hardware wallets, storage ledgers, etc. But I think you do need centralized exchanges for mass adoption. Just history just kind of shows that. So yeah, I don't think it's central exchanges anywhere to go. I just think they'll be more regulated, which I think is net bullish.
Well, as the resident Fed on the stage, I would say like the regulation of central exchanges is good too because the central exchanges give you a voice in the discussion with the regulators, and like I think this is huge, with Coinbase and Brian Armstrong, and like he wants to have an impact on how the regulators actually like develop out the space, and you want to like you want to be able to welcome regulation, but in a way that you can influence it. So totally agree.
Hey, and Wiz, you okay if I open up to the audience to come up on stage and ask some questions?
Sure, man. Sounds good.
Awesome. So, guys, raise your hands if you want to come up and ask Wizard a question. And while we're waiting for that, Wiz, so as someone, it sounds like you're a proponent for regulation to get us to where we need to go. I want to know, because I haven't read the bill. I don't think I've ever read any bill, but do you think this SBF-backed bill is poisoned because of where it's coming from? Have you read it?
I haven't read it, but I think anything he has touched is going to be quite toxic. I mean, the Republicans are definitely, the right's already starting to, pick up on this FTX thing. I haven't listened to it yet, but Dave Shapiro has like a whole episode on his podcast about FTX, I think. So the fact that, people are starting to pick it up, I think they're going to use it, regardless if it's good or bad, they're going to use it as fodder against the Democrats, which, he was the second biggest donor to the Dems. So I'm sure, they're not going to let that go easy. But I think anything he has touched is definitely toxic and it's not going anywhere. But we'll definitely see some regulation come from both sides, and there'll be some bipartisan stuff that will come. Funny enough, I was just one of the candidates that potentially might be running for presidency, and I've been, have like a couple calls with their team to see if I can be part of a potential like web free or like crypto roadmap structure for them. So I think that's going to be like whoever runs in the next election. I think making sure that they have some form of a roadmap for crypto or web free is good. And there's not that many people in the space, right? So I'm sure like guys like Brian Armstrong and stuff will be involved as well. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to make sure that I get my like as a representative of like the more regular person to get their say in.
Oh, awesome. So Wilson, I see your hand up. Relic, welcome to the stage. Wilson, go for it. I want to remind you guys, as you come up to the stage, quickest way to get on is to raise your hand and we'll call on you as we see them.
Thanks, PP. What's going on, Wiz? Quick question. Curious to hear your thoughts on the overall NFT market, and two, your thoughts around like high-end NFTs, like specifically not art, but specifically like the top 5 to 7 PFP projects, and where you see these essentially going on, let's say a 6-month to 1 year time horizon from now.
Sure. Okay. So NFT market, right? So the way I look at the NFT market, so a lot of people think about the NFT market as like like at least the ETH NFT market as a levered ETH position, and that's actually incorrect. The way to really look at the NFT market is actually a short volatility position. So it's like like you're basically shorting volatility on Ethereum. So basically, what that means is that every time you have big moves in Ethereum, whether ETH goes up or ETH goes down, you'll see NFT market go down. But when ETH consolidates over time, that's when the NFT market gets volume and then like starts like grinding up. And you can see this like in the data very easily. So when we were in this range from 1250 to 1350 on ETH for like a fucking like month and a half, that's when you saw like a ton of volume that we hadn't seen when was the last like big volume we saw? Like March when like other side happened, and then since then it's just been kind of dead, right? So that's kind of how I think about the NFT market. Now that's just from a price movement, right? Now, obviously, with what happened recently with FTX, I think a lot of people, so many people had money there, right? Like it's kind of insane. So obviously, you see all these, like all the people who only had NFT. So if you had NFTs, you can't keep that in FTX, right? So people who lost their money in FTX but still had NFTs are trying to raise funds because they're like, oh, I'm just fucked. I have nothing else. So I think you saw like that. You're seeing that capitulation. Then you're seeing, like obviously like Bored Apes has a lot of volatility going on. Bored Apes also, there's a lot of technical factors. There's liquidations happening on their lending platform, and it's like also, like, should Bored Apes have been at 75 ETH through like one of the worst bear markets we've seen in like the last 15 years? Probably not, right? Like, they probably shouldn't have been that high. And then a few capitulations because of FTX maybe pushed it lower, and that pushing it lower maybe caused some panic, pushing it lower further. And then some people are kind of worried about the whole SEC thing against BAYC. Again, I don't think it's that big of an issue, but I think that could have been a reason because BAYC member is an anchor, and I actually love all the ape stuff. I think they're doing great stuff for the space. I don't think it's too much of too many. I think it's mostly FUD, all this SEC stuff. I think they're a multi, I'm sure their legal team is like humongous and they have the best lawyers out there, so they know what they're doing. I'm sure they would have not released the ape coin without making sure they're completely tied to the back or other side in metaverse. But that also takes a long time, right? So I think people have less patience in this space. So the fact that we haven't heard anything on the other side is kind of a little bit bearish for people. But listen, I'm holding my quota bags and my land bags, and maybe I'll DC a little bit more. But that's one part, right? Um, Now, I think what there's a few things I think we're gonna see. I think the future of NFTs is not gonna is of course it's gonna be gaming. I think that's like a no brainer. But I think a lot of it is gonna be the how NFTs are utilized to solve a lot of world's everyday things, or not problems, but make things easier. So we're gonna see a lot of like a lot of utility of NFTs used across the board. So like you're seeing Starbucks doing with like reward system. I think McDonald's is doing something. Facebook is doing it. We just seen the Nike swoosh thing. So I think we're gonna see a lot of utility and like infrastructure built around NFTs and a lot of onboarding from that. Rather than like I don't think you're gonna ever see the like Bored Ape kind of like hitting like 500K from like $500 kind of thing. But you'll see a lot of like the NFT space just have general onboarding and like people come in and maybe they'll result in more volume so that all these classic PFP projects kind of go up, or digital art or stuff like that go up. Now when it comes to just the top projects, right? I think this is an example I always give, and it's very important for the NFT and the general crypto world in general. If you look at the 1800s, there were around 950 um, automobile companies, fully functional automobile companies. They all were ready to make cars, and they all were going to be the next big thing. In the end, after 200 years, only three survived: Chrysler, GM, and Ford. Okay, so that's out of 953. In 19 in 2000 in I think it was 1999 or 2000 Q1, over 400 companies IPO'd, and they all went 5 to 10x on the Nasdaq and stuff like that, and S&P. Out of those, zero companies from that quarter exist right now. So we're gonna see consolidation, like which we're seeing in crypto market. I think there's only going to be like maybe three blockchains that will exist in 5 years. So we'll see more blockchains go down. Like we've seen AVAX is kind of mostly done, but maybe there's still stuff going on. But Luna's gone, and we'll see a couple more blockchains kind of go under, and others will come up, and then some will go under, and stuff like that. And I think going to see the same for NFTs. I think in the end, when it comes to these like PFP or you know these core, like the ones that will survive, they're going to be the well capitalized ones. That's why I'm not too worried about Bored Apes and stuff like that, because they're so well capitalized that it doesn't matter. They'll just survive everyone by just existing longer, because nobody else will be able to. But for me, my portfolio, like obviously like a Bored Ape exposure. Clones I think are phenomenal. I think they're very well capitalized, given they're backed by Nike and owned by Nike. And then obviously, like you have like the ones like that will be, I think, the next like takeover. Like I think there's definitely a huge vacuum now. Like Doodles have kind of like dwindled away a little bit. They haven't had much going on. They also have the worst like PR team, because they do their biggest announcements during the worst of times. I don't know why, but not to say I don't like Doodles, but it's just funny how that always happens. But I think Pudgy is definitely, my one of my third or fourth biggest bag is Pudgy Penguins. And it's, I think Luca's doing a phenomenal job. I remember when Luca took over, we had a call after, and he just wanted to chat, and it was just amazing to get a breath of fresh air, like how committed he was, and how he wanted to do something different. Like it wasn't like he was trying to do the same old NFT thing, like oh, here's some more merch, here's some of this, here's some of that, like same shit. It's like, all right, he's trying to do something different, like to his skills, right? Like, so toys, with the children's books, community, and I mean, Pudgy lore is just like infinite lore in this space. There's no reason that these guys, Pudgy shouldn't be at like 10 plus. So I think it will be eventually in time. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's obviously a pretty rough market, and the fact that Pudgies are still sitting above 2 ETH. I don't even know where they are now, but maybe 3 ETH, maybe I forget. But anyways, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. So I like, it's still a little bit high risk, and it's with all the great stuff doing, which means that there's a high reward as well, right? So if you go buy a Bored Ape, you're gonna buy it for say 50 ETH. At the best, you're gonna get maybe 75 ETH. It gets to maybe 100, maybe I doubt it, but maybe it gets there. But like with Pudgies, you buy say 2.5 free ETH or 2 ETH, wherever it is. At least you have a potential upside to 7, 8, like at least a 3, 4x, right? So it's kind of like a soft blue chip with a very strong potential for blue chip. So you have a much higher upside, but like at the same time, like it's kind of sits very stable. The holders are just like, I mean, if you guys been, I mean, most of you guys been around with Pudgies from like day one, and it's like the stuff that Pudgies have gone through and then capitulate. It's they're not going to capitulate now, right? Like these are like people are just gonna hold these like things forever. Like it's just part of your history owning Pudgies, especially if you were in from like day one. So I think Pudgies definitely have a lot of potential. But other than that, I think Moonbirds has some potential, but it's kind of dwindled away. I think maybe they'll try and make a push again. But other than that, like maybe obviously there's obviously pure art that's always going to be around, like one of ones and stuff like that. But I think that's just like more niche, right? And a lot of that stuff's fungible too. Like you get like the real world stuff for it, so maybe it doesn't really count in general. But yeah, there's a lot of other little projects too. Like there's people doing like what's that pill one? I think it's called like
BYO pills.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think they're doing like some
Shout out
cool
Flip
shit.
Drago.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
they're
see you
doing
down there, Flip.
some. Yeah, pill. Those guys are doing some cool. There's all these like cool projects with like obviously risky, but it seems like they're building and using their money in a smart way. So yeah, I'm sure if you look around, you can find some cool projects that have the upside still. I think that this free to own stuff with like DigiDaiku. I have no exposure other than Ether Orcs. They have a partnership, but I think they're doing some pretty cool shit and getting a lot of exposure. And he's got Gabe is a he's a pretty crazy founder and CEO, but he's loud, and being a loud CEO helps. Oh, I also like the Rug Radio guys. They're doing some pretty cool stuff, a niche product. Having a leader like Farouk, who's also loud, helps a lot. You want to have somebody like that. If you look at projects that do really well, you want to have like a leader who's like kind of a little bit like narcissistic, a little bit like out there and constantly shilling. Like people think like if you're shilling too much, it's not good. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's very good. Like I always shill my shit nonstop, and people are like, "Yo, can you stop?" But you know what? There's constant volume running from like every time I tweet, the massive volume comes up in my project. So I even the same thing. Like if you look at Gabe, who's running DigiDaiku, every time he just shills on his he just shamelessly shills, and it's amazing. Like his community loves him because he's like, "Yo, please keep shilling." So I don't know. I think it's pretty cool, but maybe we can get Luca to shill more. Just keep shilling. But yeah, okay, whatever. I think whatever Pudgy is doing is working well. I don't want to mess with that. But yeah,
Hey,
Awesome.
I mean, one thing you said here, and Wilson, I don't know if you want to respond to this, but he said AVAX is going to die. And I remember not 2 weeks ago being shilled on AVAX, Wilson.
no, I don't think it's gonna die. I think it does not have the market share, obviously, as it once did. It's also the downside to having a very loud leader that pushes it up is also you have massive key man risk, right? So why did AVAX go down? Because who was the biggest shiller of AVAX? It was 3AC. It was Shushu and Kyle Davis. They're the ones who basically built AVAX out. Same thing with Solana, right? Like who was the biggest shiller of Solana? SBF. I mean, I think Solana has more, maybe some more infrastructure. Like definitely a bigger NFT infrastructure than AVAX did, or than other chains. But obviously Luna, same thing, right? Like that's what it comes down to. So like the reason I think AVAX, and it's funny, I have a pretty decent AVAX position still, from back in the day. I just haven't sold it, but I think it's more to do that. These were just so key man risk when they were coming up. That's why I feel comfortable with like Ethereum, right? If God forbid something happens to Vitalik, it's not really going to affect Ethereum price as much, right? Like it's not like I don't even know last time Vitalik actually probably sat down and coded anything on Ethereum, right? Like he probably just now he's just more like a like a spokesperson for just crypto and blockchain. Like he mostly just talks about governance. I don't even think he talks about Ethereum. Like the last few times I hear him talk was just about governance and decentralized governance. So I think that's the problem with that I thought I had with AVAX is I think it's gonna be very tough for it to get its old market share back because it was so dependent on free AC shilling it that or maybe it'll take a while. It might come back. It might just take a little while.
100%. Relic with the hand up. What's up, Bored Ape or Mutant Ape?
Moose, how you doing, man?
Let's go, Relic!
Bro, I'll be honest, dude. Every time after the IRL event with you and seeing this crowd, I get more bullish on Pudgies, and I don't own one. I'm thinking instead of ripping another ape, I just buy 20 of these bad boys, man. This community blows my mind sometimes. Yeah, but I told you I'd come out to support. Wiz is actually someone I really like his tweets. So seeing you two together in one room, that got me excited. I was really happy. So yeah, Wiz, I just came up for a question for you. One of the reasons I sold my Bored Ape and a lot of my other bags, other than, funny enough, my bio pills, that got me really excited that you like those because I'm holding on to those for dear life. But yeah, so I sold my ape. The only reason I have a mutant was to get into Ape Fest, and I've been kind of sitting on the sidelines, mostly just in stables, and I was kind of waiting for this event, not the event that happened this week. You can't really predict a Black Swan event in general, but I just wanted to know your thoughts on the macro environment and the market. I mean, we're seeing a huge possible problem with tech, another mini, micro tech bubble. We got real estate. We got so many different things going on. And this is really having 2008 vibes. Do you think we're going to see a relief pump before, maximum pain ahead? Coming into Q1, Q2 of next year, and then that's when the real buying frenzy should begin when everyone's at max panic, or do you think we've already seen those levels?
So, let's kind of take a look at like where we are and where we were, right? So we hit so the way I look at the market, I kind of go back to like first principle, right? Like the first principle of all markets is interest rates, and interest rates, like think, you can look at the 2-year, 10-year, 30-year, right? So 2-year U.S. interest rate is kind of what mostly people have been looking as a proxy for what's going on with the Fed, with inflation, stuff like that. So for now, we are pretty far away from peak rate, right? So think about the dollar as well, right? It all starts, everything, stocks, crypto, everything starts from the 2-year rate and then kind of goes back from there, right? Whether it's tech stocks, it doesn't matter because that's all the discounting factor you're going to use is interest rate. So I think for now, interest rates have hit the high. Now, what can change this? Data, right? And then the only data that kind of matters is inflation-related data. So if the reason we're pumping so much, right? Like, so I mentioned we had the biggest 2-day stock rally in like 15 years last week, and like 10% plus, right? And that happened because we had a CPI that came in lower than expected in a long time and came in pretty aggressively lower. So the market repriced the hikes that the Fed will do in December from 75 to 50. Now the question is, what will make this kind of stick? Like, what makes sure that this is not a bear market rally like we had in June, right? And what makes that happen is more data. That's the only way. That's the only thing that tells us we're gonna go bad or worse. And there's no way for me to like I can't speculate, right? Like I don't know what, like it's a random event. Like I don't know what the data will be next month, or so tomorrow we have PPI in the morning, like price producer index, and that's a really big data point too, 8:30 a.m. EST, and that's going to dictate a lot with the market too. And then you have PCE at the end of the month and housing data, labor data. So the way it's going on in the market, so I can't. So it's very tough for me to say what's going to happen, but I can tell you the scenarios depending on what happens. So if we get a weak PPI number in the morning tomorrow, we'll rally more. So these are traditional markets I'm talking about. Okay, so stock markets, bond markets, stuff like that. which should in turn, result in support to the crypto market. Obviously, crypto market's taken a beating. I don't know when it'll really like rally, but at least it'll make sure it doesn't go to like 500 or even 1,000. You know what I mean? So we got the PPI. Then we got housing. Now, if housing's really bad, that's bullish because that means that the Fed's work is going on. So housing means that we're seeing less demand, which means inflation is gonna go lower. Now you see labor, which is like a lot of layoffs and stuff are happening, but we haven't really seen that in the labor data yet. But so next month, so next Friday of the month, we'll see the next labor data. If that comes really bad, so say the labor is getting really bad, unemployment's going really high, that's very bullish as well because the Fed is going to be like, hey, the labor is kind of breaking. That means there's potential for inflation to come down. That means we can kind of slow down on hiking this aggressively, which net will send markets up. Because remember, the markets are all forward looking. So if you start seeing it getting really bad out there, means it's basically bottomed out already. So if you look at like 2008 great financial crisis, the market recovery started in like fall of 2009. Right, it did not start like the recession really ended. I would say maybe 2011 or something. Like when like 2009, 2010 was like peak bad. People were down really bad at that time, right? But that's when the market, because markets are always forward looking. So I think like you'll see more layoffs. I think you'll see like things get really bad all around, but the market will be moving up way before that. Like right now things are really bad, but stocks just put the biggest 2-day rally, right? Now again, this could be a bear market rally. And that's why we have to be data dependent. So what I would do if I'm gonna kind of figure out like if I should go all in, like this literally, I think I was chatting with Luca about this like a couple days ago, and people always ask me like, is this the bottom end? Like, should I go all in? Like, I can't tell you that because the way I'm gonna go more in is if I see more data points. So if I see 2-3 good data points, then I go all in because then I'm pretty confident that the Fed is gonna be like, okay, we're seeing inflation, trending lower, and we're gonna relax because Powell could just come out like tomorrow or like whenever he speaks next and be like, yeah, we don't care about one inflation data. This means nothing. This is premature. We're gonna still hike aggressively, and then the entire market's gonna get destroyed, right? So you put in a little bit, and then you DCA. That stuff's fine, but you don't go all in. I think you go all in when you see 2-3 data points that come in good. Now, yes, you're gonna miss out on maybe another 10%, 15% rally, maybe 20% rally, but at least you'll catch because if you get 3 data points down and the Fed says like, okay, we're gonna slow down our hikes, we're gonna take a pause maybe, and then you're gonna spend the next couple months rallying, like literally the market's gonna rally like every fucking month for like months ahead because you'll be back in like basically a soft bull market. So yes, you will miss the initial part, but you'll at least be able to catch the upside. So if you're looking to invest right now or put like stables to work, I think I would wait for more data to come out. I think if you wanted to front run what has happened, the time was like a week ago or 2 weeks ago because now the market's moved a lot. But you can always DCA down too. But so the data points I would look for is PPI tomorrow, housing data during the week, PCE at the end of the month, labor the first Friday of next month, and then CPI. And then obviously FOMC, like anytime Powell talks, I would see what he talks about. And then once those are done, then I would have a better idea. Now, my gut feeling, and this is speculation, and obviously I have to take risk as like obviously I have a hedge fund and I have to take risk on that and take risk on my own portfolio. Now my risk I'm taking is that I do think that we have come close to hitting a bottom or maybe close to it in traditional markets, and I think we do see weaker CPI data over the next 2 months. Now again, this is just speculation, but the way I'm positioning is, I'm just trying to buy a couple. Like I put in 10-20% of my stables into stocks, and crypto too as well, just because it's so low, and I'm kind of having like a 2 to 3 month outlook minimum. But again, it's like I'm putting into like Disney, a couple of like growth stocks, but mostly like safe stuff, and then just like Nasdaq ETFs and stuff like that, and then bonds, gold, stuff like that. Like real yields is something that you invest in first when like the market turns. So real yields is like inflation protected yield. So that would be so gold is basically like a infinite maturity real yield zero coupon bond. So stuff like that. So it's kind of safe, but you still I still need to take some risk for my own stuff. So that's kind of the way I'm positioning myself.
Yeah, and I had no intentions on going all in right now because my thesis is we're far from the worst. Now I got a lot of my own thoughts on it, and that's why I was kind of interested in hearing what you had to say. But there's something that I want to tag you on, and maybe you can respond later because I would love to see your thoughts on it. So one thing that I did do is, and obviously, 2022 is not 2008. Everything happens for different reasons, and we know we can only look for trends, but trends don't tell all, as different times are different times. But if you take the 2006 to 2008 S&P chart and throw it over our chart from right now for the past 2 years, it is on an identical, like it is crazy. It is force feeding. The lines are almost overlapped perfectly. And from 2008, it was the next few months after this point when we saw like a 60% drop off, and then that rebound that you started talking about in the 2008 2009 fall going on from there. But even that point lasted a few years to come back. So I'll shoot you a tag on that, and I just be
Yeah,
curious.
no, I've seen that chart. There's so many times in my Discord people post that. So it's that's possible, right? So but that's the thing. It's possible, but at the same time, it's also possible that it doesn't happen, right? Because so what will make that happen? The only thing that can make that happen is CPI coming in bad again. So this CPI was an anomaly, which is definitely possible. It's possible that we get the next CPI number and it ends up spiking up aggressively. It's like we see core inflation, which is like rent prices, used car sales, airline prices, stuff like that, spikes up like crazy. And then yeah, that would absolutely, like, if we had the next 3 months, core CPI comes in even 0.2 to 0.3% worse every month, and you have labor data that comes in very strong, like say like 50 to 100,000 jobs beat every month, 100%, we're gonna probably correct at least, I would say, maybe 10 to 15% minimum per month on stocks alone. Like we'll reverse the entire 10-12% move we saw in the last week. Yeah, 100%. But that's what will take us lower, is that you need to have CPI come in. So then you have to be like, okay, then you think that we have not peaked on inflation, that we have not peaked on month over month, year over year. That's the only thing that will take. I mean, obviously, there's definitely black swan events possible, but that's the only thing that will take us down. But if labor breaks, because remember, the Fed has a dual mandate, right? Like the dual mandate is inflation, that they have to lower inflation, but they have the second big mandate, which is employment. So if labor gets really bad, then they have to start slowing down, because they cannot have a situation where unemployment rate gets really bad, because that's a hard landing, and they're trying to avoid that completely. Like they've been very vocal about that, so people know that's the reason that any bad news on labor is good news for the market, is because the Fed has made it very clear that if labor breaks, they're going to slow down or pause. So the only thing that can make the market get worse from here is if labor gets really, really good. So they'll be like, okay, we'll keep hiking, and if CPI keeps ticking up. Other than that, like, I mean, yeah, if that happens, for sure, we'll tank. And if it doesn't happen, it'll go up. So now, which one will happen or will not happen? I don't know. That's why I wait to see the data, and then I absorb the data and make my decisions fast and quick and accordingly. But that's kind of how you have to play the game, right? Because if you do anything else, you could, you can just flip a coin, and who knows what will happen.
Well, my last question for you then would be is something that's a little different about history in comparison to now is we're not really looking just at the United States. We have global economic problems going on in all the different countries here. Now, do you ever worry or foresee if something major happened in any of the other countries that could have a huge adverse effect on us as well.
Yeah, so agree. So there's always geopolitical issues. So the one nice thing that's happened over the last, I would say, 5 years after, like think like trade war, like when Trump was having the trade war with China. One of the things that's happened since then, or maybe like even a little bit earlier, is that USA has decoupled from the rest of the world when it comes to markets very aggressively. So even when you had Ukraine going on, you had like maybe a few days of the market kind of dumping like stocks and stuff, and then it just kind of shrugged it off. And you've seen this kind of time and again. I think the only thing that would have like a significant impact on US markets from a geopolitical issue would be some significant US China tensions, like trade war type of tensions again. So like maybe like some stuff with Taiwan, some issues in South China Sea. But other than that, like like look at like Europe, like US doesn't care about anything that happens in Europe. US kind of doesn't care about anything that happens in like Japan, Australia, any of that. The only time US markets kind of have some impact is if there's any issues between US and China per se. But even that's kind of decoupled a little bit. If anything, China has been under so much stress because they locked down again, right? And if you saw like a couple weeks ago, we had this big rally in stock market, and it was primarily because China was easing lockdowns and like rules around that, and they were gonna open things up more. So you saw this big pump in energy prices, oil, stuff like that, and then like for high fashion goods like Louis Vuitton stocks and all that shit like started pumping because China was opening again. But yeah, I mean, I think the only thing for a geopolitical scenario, obviously, black. Not this is assuming no World War III Black Swan, is primarily that, yeah, if you have something significant with China, I think you'll see some pressure. But then you can just go back to like the trade war days. Like it needs to be that bad for it to have a significant issue on the market. But I don't see that really happening because we don't really have a president that's gonna like kind of fight against like other countries. Like back then, you were having issues because Trump would tweet out like fuck China and all that shit, and the market would just like take hit. But I don't think you're going to see Biden say anything like that anytime soon. So I think geopolitically, U.S. is decoupled quite a bit. Because remember, U.S. dollar has been the best hedge for inflation out of any asset in the last year, which is pretty incredible. But yeah,
I gotta say, every time you say PPI, I think you're asking me a question. But other than that, Relic, thanks for the question, man. Before I toss to something that's up pinned by child Tecmo Bo, welcome to the stage.
Hey, yeah, hey Wiz, I just had a question as somebody who runs a non-speculative project. I heard you talking about how it's easy for people outside of this space to understand a non-speculative project that's just like purely utility based. And I've found that to be true, but I've also found the flip side to be true, that it actually becomes a little more tedious to try to get people from within the space who are kind of crypto native to understand a non-speculative project. Like, hey, this thing is just a really awesome deal, and you get like a physical product, and you get to be a part of a community that loves that product, and like, you don't have to worry about all the speculation, number go up, number go down. Just like, you get an awesome product that's like crafted with skill and love, and you get to enjoy it with people who enjoy it. It's almost like that's a hard thing for people to get sometimes. So if you notice the same, and it kind of
yeah, man. You guys have the coffee project, right? Is that your project?
Yes, I don't know if he heard you, but yeah, it's 0x Coffee.
Oh yeah, that's a cool project. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think these are the projects that are going to be the future. That's what I was saying. The next wave of NFT adoption is going to be utilities of NFTs in this form. Now, obviously, that's like of course, that's something I've had to deal with a lot. In my space because like we haven't minted out yet, right? Like we've minted around like 1,500 maybe. But yeah, it takes a lot of education because it's really, I mean, it's kind of speculation long term, but like short term it's not like, like a heavy pump hype project. There's a lot of education. There's a lot of like, literally like have people like taste the wine. Once they drink the wine, once they see like the properties, same as yours, I'm sure once they drink the coffee and stuff like that, they're gonna be like, holy shit, this is pretty cool. But you know what I mean, it takes a little bit more work, but I do think like, this really will be the second wave. Like when the next wave of NFTs happen, like say within the next 2 years, like, or like maybe in the next year. I think the next 2 years is a long time, but in the next year, we'll see that next big wave of NFT utility projects getting pushed, and then I think like projects like ours will be the ones that like pioneer and like are the settlers for like the next wave that comes in, because like that's really what's going to take NFTs to the next level. And you're kind of seeing that, right? Like you're seeing that with large brands and corporations that are coming into the space. The ones that are failing are usually the ones that are doing like some kind of PFP project. But if you just focus on like, like stuff like brand loyalty, just good like, physical stuff, or like any like where you're really like engaging your community or even building a community, I think that's the kind of stuff that's gonna be like the next big wave. But it's really not gonna be like the enjoyers of that are gonna be like, of course, people who enjoy the actual utility, but I think they're gonna see a slow increase. Like what's a great example I found was like actually like kind of like a rug radio, right? Um, and they're like very unique, right? Like it's like a media thing, kind of different. Like I haven't really seen any other project like that, but they were like really low. Like I think they were below mint for like the longest time, and then they got money in from other projects, from partnerships, stuff like that, VC investment, or whatever that may be. But like in the same way, like think about at some point, like say like if Inco goes for a VC investment, and we're like, okay, no, we don't really want a VC investment. We're just community run, and we're just going to focus on raising money for our community. VCs are going to be like, listen, I want to have web free. Like say you're like a big like wine and spirits company, and you're like, there's no point for them, like a wine and spirits company or any big company is never gonna rebuild the entire thing from scratch. They'll always acquire. Same for coffee, right? Let's say some coffee brand or some food brand is like, yo, I want to have exposure in this. They're better off acquiring a company rather than um you know build it all from scratch, right? Like this is just like business 101. Like big companies will always acquire first. So say they come to like us, right? And they're like, hey, like we want to acquire a company, and you're like, no. But they're like, okay, we need to have exposure. So what are they going to do? This is exactly what I've seen happen with a couple other projects where they'll just go, like the VCs will just go buy the NFTs. Like literally, they'll be like, okay, we're going to put like $50,000 into your project anyways. We'll just go buy $50,000 worth of your NFTs and just hold on to it and get the exposure that way. And that happens time and time again. I've noticed with a lot of projects that get VC investment, or if they say no to VC investment, that's how VCs get invested. And I think that's fine. I think it's just going to take some time with projects like this, like yours, like mine, where it'll take some time for people to kind of understand and enjoy it. And yeah, that just means that we have to grind more, and it's fun, right? Like how are we grinding more? We're like partnering up with projects, like we're partnering up with you guys. We're gonna come there, me and keyboard, and like serve wine. Like who wants to do that? Like if people just want to put like a PFP project, cash grab a ton of money. But if you really want to push the space forward, you have to grind it out. Like you have to put like literally, like I remember when we in NFT NYC, like we were serving wine, like like Daniela, she was there. She was like being keyboard monkey, like, and all of these guys were there, like the Rug Radio guys, OSF, Mando, they all came out. And like literally, I was like serving wine, like pouring people glasses, telling them what they think, chatting about it, and they all loved it, right? And they now they're gonna be like, they don't, none of those people in the community care about the price going up or down. They're just like, listen, we're enjoying wine, having a good time, and that's kind of it. And if it goes up, perfect. That's a huge bonus. And I think it'll happen like that in time. Like we'll see, the long term disruptors in the space of utility kind of push it in that way. And I think at the end of the day, we'll have the longer lasting staying power because we'll have built the community around the product and as owners rather than consumers of some speculative art.
Wiz, I don't know if you've seen the post that's pinned to the top, but we have this text message thread that we've been like going back and forth on, and some news just broke about SBF, about the random tweets he's doing. Apparently, it has to do with tweet deleter, and everyone's talking about it right now. Child's been doing some digging. What's up, Child?
Yeah, this shit is crazy. I mean, like, Wilson and I were just talking about this. Like, I think at one point, like, I thought SBF was just, this do-gooder, maybe he screwed up, maybe something happened along the way. I mean, just every new piece of evidence that comes out just, shows that there's malintent here. And this is, I guess the concept, right, is that you have bots that run queries every minute or so to see if somebody who's a big crypto Twitter account deletes a tweet. And so the concept is that if you tweet a tweet within a minute of you deleting another tweet, that bot might miss the fact that your tweet count changed. And so, what he's doing by tweeting these long threads, or, H, then A, then P, then P, then the letters, is that it gives him the opportunity to delete tweets. And so if you actually click on that thread that we pinned up top, you can see some examples of what he tweeted. So like things like, yeah, we do have $1 billion in excess cash, or, tweeting at CZ saying, yeah, I'd love it if we could work together. Like those types of tweets. So it's really just like, I mean, everybody says the cover up is worse than the crime, but like, we're seeing it in real time here. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but what's the point of him deleting? Like, I'm sure Elon would just give all his historical tweets, like everything, to the feds in like one ask. Like, that's so stupid to like even try and do
No,
that.
Totally. I mean, I agree, but I mean,
he's also
SBF's
an idiot, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for like maybe he's drugged out, thinking he's making a difference right now.
I mean, the amateur nature of the criminality is what offends me the most. It's like a script kiddie getting away with $10 billion. I mean, if you're gonna do this, at least be professional about it. Not to joke, but rap bastard.
Yeah, it's like he's leaving a trail of even more evidence by doing this. If he's doing this, then he's basically saying these tweets are incriminating, in my opinion. So, he's everybody's punching bag right now, and well deserved, in my opinion.
Hey guys,
what's up, Riley? What's up, man?
So I guess following a lot of this SBF space, as well as some of the kind of ongoings with FTX, looking at that and kind of seeing how that just has ripple effects throughout the crypto ecosphere, and kind of the impacts that it has on the industry and the future outlook by some of the large institutions. I mean, just seeing like lots of institutions kind of be involved in this, and what kind of knock-on effect do you guys see with that from not even just a like business feasibility standpoint for a lot of these newer projects, as well as how are kind of the institutions that lend as well as provide sell-side data and such to for these kind of newer firms impact kind of the future of the crypto sphere. I mean, it just seems so negative from my standpoint. I mean, putting a pin on what year this is going to truly bounce back is kind of like waving a finger in the air right now. Just curious on what you guys kind of think about the future ripples that this is going to cause for, I guess, newer projects.
Oh, I'm too dumb to field that question. I'll talk with the Wiz.
I mean, future ripple, the main is going to be regulation, right? And it's going to be very tough for anybody to trust anyone again. And like if there's anybody who comes to power like the way SBF did, I think it's good to have like healthy skepticism, and not trust people as much. Like look when like Lehman Brothers and stuff went down, or like even Enron, right? Like these were humongous, market capitulations, and we kind of came back from all of that. Just make people trust people, less, and that's fine. That means trust but verify, whatever the famous saying is. Just don't trust but verify. Is that what it is? Whatever. But it's it's just making sure we'll definitely the major ripple effect will be regulation. I hope. And the second will just be maybe more use of at least the way the market's moving, more use of decentralized products, more use of hardware wallets and stuff like that. That just net will keep people safe, more security. Not your keys, not your coin will get emphasized even more. But yeah, I think, but I'll tell you, in like 5 years from now, I'm sure we'll be having this exact same, spaces talking about somebody else scammed again. Like this
And
is
it'll
all.
be $100 billion
Yeah,
instead of 10.
exactly.
It's cyclical,
Yeah,
like you
it's all
said back in the
cyclical.
beginning.
Yeah, exactly. This shit will just happen again and again, and it's fine. Market will dump. Who knows? Maybe at that point we'll be at like 5K and dump to like 3K, and we're gonna be like, okay, world's over right now. And it's like this. Shit, like I remember, like when during COVID and stuff, it used to dump to like 400, 300. I don't even remember. Like it used to be insane. Like even a few years back, like if it was like 1,200, even if it was the price of ETH was about $1,000, it was like the greatest fucking thing ever. So. Like it just, I don't know, maybe I'm just numb to it. Like I feel like it's like, oh damn, price is still like pretty great. So yeah, it is what it is.
Well, that's the perspective you get from being around for a couple of these cycles, right? You get to see the
Yeah,
long
of
term.
course. But that's the thing, right? Now all the people who have gone through this now, like their OG status, right? Like they've been through it. Like this is all tuition you pay to the market, right? And you learn from it. So everyone who's going through this has like a level of education that they got from the market, and they paid for it. But that's okay. But that's how it works. That's just literally how you have to always pay your tuition to the market, and that's how you learn. And you learn from it, and you take what you can get, and you hope to not make those mistakes ever again. Like, let's not keep it on random exchanges. Let's keep majority of our money on hardware wallets or safe wallets or whatever we can. And that's just how it is.
Wiz, I'm going to ask you a random question now, but is there any chance that you rap ever?
Do I rap? That's so
Yeah.
funny. When I was like, I came, from, I grew up in India and then I moved to Canada. And for some reason, I was just like a small little fat kid in this like white school like a Catholic school in Canada. For some reason, I don't know what it was. Maybe I was a huge Eminem fan, and I was so close to Detroit because like I grew up like I moved when I was like 16 to Canada, and it's like in Windsor, which is like literally 5 minutes from Detroit, like across the border. And I was always a big Eminem fan, but yeah, we used to have these rap battles. I used to just challenge random people to like rap battles at school. It was pretty funny.
Get
But
out of here. There's a very specific reason I was asking that. It's
why is that?
because so we have the Penguin Princesses. We're like a women's networking group within the penguin community, and we do these spaces that we call Igloo Tales, and they're kind of created around the storytelling NFTs concept, and we have a rap battle on Friday. And so the format, it's like formatted in a very specific way so that we can encourage other people to participate. But we're basically using that Mickey Avalon song, My Dick, which is, if nobody knows, it's basically like, one person kind of like talking about how great, I hope it's okay that I'm saying this on this basis, but talking about how great their dick is, and then talking about how like ratioing the other person's, but we're changing it to my pang, and we're gonna make it, yep, exactly.
Not here, PP, not here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So it's really easy to participate because it's basically like you just kind of like have to make a joke, but like the rhythm is there and the setup is there, and it's super fun. Our spaces have been really fun. We've had a bunch of like creatives on, and we hinted at this in the post, but Diane Neal from Law and Order, she was on our first Igloo Tales, and she's going to be joining us too because she's just like super excited about it and wants to hang with us. So it'd be great if you could join on Friday at 4:00.
You left him speechless.
I guess so.
Damn.
Wait, sorry.
Save it
Wait,
for the
I'm not
floor.
I'm not rap battling though. That just, listen, my haters already have too much ammo on me. I'm not giving them more. But I'll come hang out.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
I'll rap battle Danielle.
Awesome.
I used to
Please.
freestyle, and I'll put some alpha out there. You'll never be able to find it, but there is a single I dropped in
What?
my year of high school, sitting on YouTube somewhere.
Please.
I'm not gonna say the name, but I really ripped the government a new one in that one. And
All right, I gotta
You
find
were
this.
kind of
I
a
think
big deal.
I think we saw institutional change from it. But
bring it.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there. But
Awesome.
On that note, Wiz, you ready to pick the winner for this giveaway?
Yeah, you guys pick, man, and I'll just send me the address and I'll just send it to them.
Bro, this is gonna be very anticlimactic. I have Twitter Picker rolled up here. Someone's gonna give me a drum roll, maybe PP.
Yeah, I'll give you something better. You know what I'm gonna pick.
Yeah. Give me a little something. So everybody listening, we are gonna be doing the drawing for the Evinco Winery DAO piece that Wizard of SoHo has generously opted to give away tonight. The details are in the pinned tweet at the top. I'll go ahead and repin it up there for you guys. Enter in now. We're going to give you 25 seconds. All you got to do is retweet that tweet, comment, tag a couple people. And I'm not saying it helps, but it can't hurt. Follow everyone on stage, especially our guest, Wizard of SoHo. We're going to get into this. Without further ado. Oh, you got to be in the audience, too, by the way. All right, cut the music, PP.
It's so good, though.
I know, it is really good. Really takes me back to middle school. The fates have rolled the die, and they've come up in favor of Quex. Blue heart, orange heart. Quex 205. Quex, are you in here?
Let's go, Quex!
Quex is in here. I see him.
Request, brother.
It's like the first time we've picked somebody who was in this space.
The first time the first pick was in here. Quex. Request.
I need to check his ID when he comes up here. Make sure he's good.
Nah, I'm not going to put him through the gambit of he has to be actively listening. Although that does help, Quex, because you could have gotten on here, shilled something. I don't know. But reach out to me or one of the other co-hosts with your ETH address. We'll make sure that gets over to Wiz. And congratulations on winning. And Wiz, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah,
this
man.
Was insightful.
Yeah, love Pudgy's, man. It's like one of my first, I think maybe like the first or second NFT I ever had was the Wizard hat, Pudgy. So my Pudgy love goes back to like mint days. So it's all good. I love you guys.
Yeah, this was an honor, bro, because I've been following you for a while on your Instagram.
Wizard,
really? You. Damn. So you've been following for a while. Wow. Yeah, Instagram. That's where I started up. But yeah, no.
Dude, I'm in the whole Fin Meme page. The whole Fin Meme group. Yeah, Actually Agents. It's a real estate page on there.
That makes sense.
I just want to come in here and say thank you every single person who stayed and listened and learned something. We had an absolute genius on here. Dude, Wizard of SoHo, you are a legend. The entire time I'm like, wow, I need to educate myself more. So it was so awesome to hear from you. Thank you for all the co-hosts. Thank you for everybody listening again. So legendary. We run these spaces every single Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to kill this. Like, we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep having the best time. And we appreciate everybody that just shows up and shows out. And I am my penguin, and my penguin is me.
I am my penguin, and my penguin is me.
I am my penguin, and this podcast is on Spotify. There we go.
Yeah, check us out on Spotify and iTunes. And I think we'll go to some other things later, like Google and whatever else is out there. But check it out.
How much risk was in that system? Repackaged and re-leveraged again and 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 again. Repackaged and re-leveraged again and again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, absolutely could pull it off without my math degree. Use very little math. Use a lot of elementary school math. Being comfortable with risk is very important.
No one knew how much risk was in that system. Bilateral, bespoke, non-reported transactions. No one knew how much risk was in that system. Repackaged and re-leveraged again and 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 again. Repackaged and re-leveraged again